This low-life trash got stuck in a dead-end life with a zero-future job, so when these dungeon-like towers popped up, he thought maybe he'd finally find his way out of the gutter. He blew his life savings on a shady skill that was supposed to make him a god, but life glazed him with a diddy oil. Instead of immortality, my man got an endless cycle of agonizing death, where every single respawn left him weaker and weaker. With this, he was basically a walking meme, a punching bag for monsters, and the biggest joke in the challenger world. Just when he was about to get yeeted from the game entirely, he stumbled on a bug. Now his L's are in reverse, flipping his nerfs into god-tier buffs. He's not just immortal, he's the ultimate glow-up. He's coming for a rematch with everyone who clowned on him. A nearly one-hit-looking boy is in tears, screaming that he doesn't want to die. He grips a sword with trembling hands, realizing he has to escape quickly. Pressing his back against the wall, he shakes uncontrollably, questioning why he is the only one going through this mess. His legs give out, and he collapses to the floor, sobbing with fear and despair. His entire body shivers, while tears spill down his face as he silently begs for anyone to save him. Suddenly, the system identifies him as Takamaki Yoshigo, a low-trash challenger. Just as he drowns in despair, a massive demon-like figure walks in, ready to rub some Diddy baby oil on him. This thing, an elite demon, towers over the boy with its suffocating presence. Forcing himself up with trembling arms, Yoshido clenches his teeth in frustration. He sees himself as worthless, ridiculed, rejected by everyone. The demon moves closer and his emotions overflow. With rage boiling inside, he refuses to surrender, even if the entire world has abandoned him. He leaps forward, charging the demon with everything he's got. Unfortunately, the moment he swings, the demon just shrugs and slaps him aside with its claws. It looks like curtains for this femboy. Pain racks his body while the demon casually channels a massive glowing ball, preparing to end it all. The ball launches through the air, except instead of hitting him, it smashes into the ground. The floor cracks wide open, and suddenly everything collapses beneath them. Yoshido plummets into the darkness while the last thing he sees is the demon staring down at him like, oops. As he disappears into the abyss, the system cheerfully notifies that he has died. In this world, magic towers exist beyond human understanding. They're basically dungeons that popped up randomly across the globe. Inside, the structures look like something straight out of a video game. You've got monsters, magical weapons, and loot scattered everywhere. Treasures like magic stones and shiny gold gear are worth a fortune, and the maniacs brave enough to chase them are known as challengers. But of course, it's not all fun and games. Being a challenger means gambling with your life because death inside a tower means death in reality. And that's exactly what just happened to our lonely underdog Yoshido. Yep, he died. Again. As he despairs in the after-death void, a system notification pops up, announcing that his infinite revival skill has activated. In just 10 seconds, he'll respawn. It's a broken skill that brings him back no matter how many times he dies inside the tower. Sounds amazing, right? Well, not exactly. Yoshido has just realized he got scammed. Here's the backstory. After high school, Yoshido was stuck working dead-end part-time jobs with zero future. Then the towers appeared. Like some guy hopelessly gooning over a depressed goth girl's Instagram posts. He thought maybe this was his big shot at glory and riches. So he jumped headfirst into the challenger life. At first it was brutal. Treasures weren't easy to find and the monsters were no joke. Then Yoshido stumbled across some skill stones. These rare items grant random abilities, and through sheer luck, he found the shady merchant selling infinite revival. Without thinking twice, Yoshido blew all his savings and even went into debt just to buy it. And just like that, he became basically immortal. But immortality comes with a catch. Every time he dies, infinite revival activates, but it slaps him with a permanent debuff known as a death penalty. Each time, one random stat gets reduced forever. So far, Yoshido has died 4 times. The first penalty nuked his defense by 50 points, pretty tragic considering his base defense was only 53. No wonder he got one-tapped by that elite demon earlier. The second death shredded his attack power, the third cut down his max health, and with each revival, another stat gets nerfed into oblivion. Basically, he's immortal, but he's also slowly becoming the weakest immortal femboy to ever exist. Coming to the present, our boy gets slapped with a minus 60 reduction to his agility. Since his base agility was 61, that leaves him with a grand total of 1. Yeah, just 1. In the Magic Tower, agility isn't just about running fast, it literally affects how heavy your body feels. The lower it gets, the heavier you feel, until eventually you can't even move. At that point, you're basically done as a challenger. Realizing this, Yoshido despairs. The skill he went into debt for is starting to look like that underwater basket weaving degree from the University of Alabama. Useless. As he sulks, the system reminds him about his revival and tosses him back into the magic tower. With his uncle on fentanyl-level agility, Yoshido instantly feels heavier than a bag of bricks. Even taking a step feels like a workout. Still, he tries to refocus. The place looks like a lower level of the tower, but the atmosphere feels off. Then he spots it, a skill stone. And not just any skill stone, but an ultra-rare one. This thing is worth a fortune, enough to wipe out all his debt in one go. Hope sparks inside him. If there are no monsters around, this could actually be an easy win for once. Unfortunately, easy wins don't exist for Yoshido. The moment he steps forward, he triggers a hidden trap. Hundreds of daggers shoot out, turning him into a human pincushion. Just like that, this new trash dies again. The revival skill kicks in, of course, but this time the death penalty slams his strength within -65. Now he's weaker than a toddler on diet juice. Thrown back into the exact same room, he realizes it's all one big trap. But our boy isn't the type to quit. With shaky determination, he starts limping toward the prize. His lowered stats make even walking a chore, but he pushes forward. And then, unluck strikes again. Another trap triggers, and this time he is roasted alive, well done, crispy steak style. Once again, Yoshido gets slapped with a 250 health point debuff. But this time, when he responds, he actually manages to dodge the fire trap. He realizes this whole passage is designed to bait greedy challengers with rare skill stones and then instantly delete them. But Yoshido isn't your average challenger, he's got infinite lives. So instead of playing carefully, he decides to go full psycho mode, rushing forward without a single care for traps. Naturally, every trap in the room makes him its personal chew toy. Arrows, spikes, fire, poison, you name it, he tanks it. Each death stacks more and more debuffs, to the point he feels like his consciousness is about to fade into static. And yet, against all odds, our trash-tier hero finally reaches the skill stone. The moment his fingers graze it, he collapses into unconsciousness. Meanwhile, the system window calmly does its thing and activates the reward. By random chance, Yoshido unlocks a new ability, Inversion. When his eyes flutter open, he immediately feels different, stronger, sharper, alive in a way he hasn't felt in ages. All the death penalty debuffs are gone. Curious and confused, he opens his status window. And to his utter disbelief, every single negative number has flipped into massive positive points, from weakest immortal trash to absolute Giga Chad stats. It's a shocker as every single negative stat just flipped into a positive. Just then, Yoshido notices the inversion skill in his status window and reads that it reverses all debuffs. So that's how this miracle happened. Still, he's confused about how he even got the skill in the first place. Then his eyes land on the nearby cube, the once glowing skill stone now empty. He realizes the ultra-rare skill must have triggered automatically. At first, he feels regret over not being able to sell it for money. But then it hits him that this means he'll actually get stronger every time he dies. Immortality just got an upgrade. Motivation and determination flare up, realizing this trash-tier challenger might actually have a shot at fame and fortune. He brushes off his doubts for the moment and focuses on the light at the end of the hallway, wondering if it's the exit. But there's a problem. All the traps are active again. Getting through will definitely kill him multiple times. Yoshido hesitates. On one hand, dying over and over means more buffs. On the other hand, it still hurts like hell. He shivers just thinking about it, realizing that endless death might actually drive him insane. But then he smirks. With his new positive stats, maybe he won't even need to die this time. There's no other way forward, so he decides to give it a try. Yoshido launches himself toward the exit, instantly triggering the dagger traps. To his shock, he easily dodges them all. His new agility allows him to see the blades clearly, weaving between them like a pro gamer. Pressing forward, he flashes through every trap without a single scratch. Eventually, he reaches the fire statue that roasted him earlier. Summoning a cleaver from his system inventory, he smashes the statue in one hit. A storm of daggers rains down, but Yoshido deflects them effortlessly with his sword. At this point, he's convinced with his death penalties inverted into buffs, he might actually become the strongest challenger alive. Then he spots the exit, but unfortunately, it's way up on the ceiling. Old Yoshido, the debuff femboy, wouldn't have stood a chance. But the new Yoshido? He flashes forward, uses his momentum, and leaps straight into it. Inside, waiting for him, is none other than the elite demon, the same creep who once tried to give him the Diddy baby oil treatment. Without hesitation, Yoshido charges in, sword swinging. The demon blocks with its horn, and the recoil sends him flying back. Yoshido steadies himself, glaring with pure killing intent. He challenges the demon silently to try to rub oil on me again. The demon actually looks excited by the prospect. With infinite lives versus one, Yoshido grips his sword tighter, blood boiling. Both sides prepare for round 2. But this time, he's not the same trash challenger. Yoshido charges at the enemy with a broken sword clutched tight in his hand. He glances back at the towering demo with his eyes wide as it hits him just how much stronger he's gotten. Leaping high, he brings the jagged blade down on the monster's massive hand. The demon looms over him, but Yoshido simply stretches out his left arm, as if announcing that its attacks don't scare him anymore. He slams another blow onto the back of the demon's head, then another before landing lightly on the ground, hyping himself up with a confident, "Yeah, I've got this." That confidence lasts about 5 seconds. Suddenly, glowing purple energy gushes out of nowhere like a rave gone horribly wrong. A gap rips open behind the one-armed demon, and Yoshido immediately starts regretting all his life choices. He jumps back, muttering about how close he just came to dying. Sweat drips down his face as he eyes his opponent carefully, a theory starting to form. This demon doesn't look anything like the monsters he fought on the 3rd floor. He mentally sketches the tower's layout. Stronger enemies appear the higher you go. So why the hell is something like this here? Still, he charges again, landing another strike. The demon spreads his wings, blasting forward with a sudden, sharp attack. Yoshido raises his arm to shield himself, finding himself propelled high above the monster. In that moment, he realizes just how much his stats have spiked thanks to all those death penalties. He parries blow after blow with nothing but the stub of his blade, admitting to himself he's way stronger than the average 3rd floor challenger. But he's never even heard of a monster like this. He drops back to the ground, covering his face with his sword stub, demanding to know who the hell this demon even is. The demon's eyes flare, glowing with a sinister purple light, his body hovering in the air like a final boss entrance cutscene. Yoshido sighs at his rotten luck. Of course he had to run into something like this. Purple spheres of energy swirl above the demon's hands, and Yoshido can't help but notice is finally using both of them. With a grin that's equal parts reckless and excited, he raises his broken sword. The demon's entire body radiates purple light now, ready to go all in. Yoshido smirks back, wondering if it's really about to fight him at full strength. Hearing him, the demon goes for the kill, and our hero, Yoshido, jumps back, barely dodging a massive energy blast that scorches the ground beside him. The demon's giant horn and razor-sharp shark teeth are right there as the ground cracking under its feet. The boy just manages to block the next strike with his sword, realizing he's once again staring death in the face. It's a total pain in the ass. While blocking suddenly, Yoshido notices a dark sphere glows in the monster's palm and curses under his breath as a tiny whirlwind of energy whips around his head. Suddenly, the system notification pops up, telling him he just died, which triggers a permanent debuff, instantly draining 40 points of physical strength. But before he can even process it, another message flashes. The debuff has been swapped for a buff, and now he's got an extra 40 points in physical strength. The demon has its back to him, but then we see Yoshido right behind it, his eyes glowing with a crazy light. The boy tries to hit him, but his strike is blocked by a weapon that looks like a spear. Yoshido's face is pure madness, and for the first time, fear flashes in the demon's eyes. Yoshido's voice drops low and dangerously, muttering that killing him was the worst mistake the demon could have made. Then he's gone in a blur, darting around the monster and landing a brutal strike. The pain still lingers in his body, and every swing is fueled by it. The demon scrambles to parry, but Yoshido keeps hammering away with his raw new strength pouring through him, driving the enemy back step by step. Still, deep down, he knows it's not quite enough. Yoshido strikes with a powerful swing, but before the hit lands, a sudden streak of light flashes between them. The demon's eyes flare purple, and Yoshido's widen as he catches sight of a broken sword fragment. For a split second, he's distracted, and that's all it takes. The monster's counter blows through him. The system window pops up in front of his face, notifying that he has died. Another debuff hits, giving him minus 60 agility. But then, thanks to inversion, it flips. Instead of being slower, Yoshido is now faster than ever. He doesn't even need to check the numbers, he can feel it humming in his bones. Snapping his eyes open, he locks onto the demon's soul with razor focus. Power floods through him, fueling every nerve. In a blur of speed, he launches forward, closing the distance in an instant. Before the demon even realizes what's happening, Yoshido slices straight through. One blink later, the elite demon is already collapsing, cut clean and unconscious. Yoshido, like a proper overconfident villain, doesn't even bother to look back. He smirks, cocky, as if the demon never had a chance to begin with. Deep down, though, he almost wishes for a rematch someday, even if it has to be in hell. Strolling up to the fallen corpse, Yoshido mutters in his heart the kind of thought only he'd have, that maybe, just maybe, he wants to fight this guy fair and square one day. After finally taking the demon down, Yoshido breathes a sigh of relief. Victory tastes good, but he can't ignore the fact that he died twice just to pull it off. What worries him more, though, is the sight of his shattered sword. It's useless now, and if he wants to keep climbing, he'll need a replacement. That means collecting magic stones to sell for cash. Conveniently, he spots a few crystals jutting from the wall nearby and starts harvesting them. With those in hand, Yoshido makes his way to the first floor of the tower, a safe zone that doubles as a marketplace. Monsters don't spawn here, and challengers are free to rest, trade, or just waste time. Stalls line the area, packed with weapons, potions, and overpriced junk. Yoshido sells the crystals and with the payout buys himself a shiny new silver sword. It's expensive, sure, but he convinces himself it's an investment. If he wants to rise higher, he needs good gear. As he admires his purchase, he notices the buzz of voices around him. Other challengers are whispering, and it's all about him. He overhears them mocking his decision to pick the infinite revival skill. To them, he's the weakest challenger alive, a walking joke. Yoshido just shrugs. Sure, they could have warned him about the downsides earlier, but whatever. They don't know what he knows, that thanks to inversion, his so-called trash skill is basically god tier now. Only he can master it, and just thinking about it gets him fired up. His excitement is cut short by a loud shout echoing through the market. He turns to see one of the local tower bullies, Namishi, also known as Big Mac, because, well, the guy's built like one, yelling about a challenger taking on the boss room on the 5th floor. That name catches Yoshido's attention, the Dominator. He recalls that Dominator is the title given to whoever controls the boss room at the top of the tower. Hearing it now, his curiosity spikes. Those who defeat a tower boss can earn unique, powerful items, making them respected among ordinary challengers. That much is clear, but Yoshido is still confused why Big Mac is flexing so hard about it. Meanwhile, the target of his bluster, a level 15 challenger named Manhwa, snaps back. She argues that anyone can challenge a low-tier boss if they want. Her companion Yuri, a level 13 challenger, tries to calm her down, urging her not to escalate things. But Manhwa isn't having it. She insists that they were the ones who discovered the boss room first, and there's no way she's letting a fatty Dominator steal their loot. Yuri disagrees. Tempting as the rewards are, she insists it's smarter to leave the fight to Nandashi and his men. Hearing this, Manhwa goes quiet. Nandashi smirks, assuming the matter is settled, and proceeds to flex. He brags about being the Dominator and flaunts his shiny prize, the Aegis Mimesis Shield, a unique item that can block any attack. According to him, there's nothing the girls could do anyway. Both Manhwa and Yuri fall silent, and right then, Yoshido strolls in. He casually greets the two, but before they can respond, Nandashi notices him. Immediately, the big guy starts mocking Yoshido for buying that trash skill, trying to intimidate him with raw strength. Yuri once again tries to defuse the situation, suggesting they just hand the location over to Nandashi to avoid trouble. But Yoshido, with an evil little grin in his eyes, interrupts. He declares that after this, he's going to challenge the top boss room, and he'll do it with speed Nandashi and his boys could never match. Yuri looks baffled at his confidence, but Yoshido assures her he's got a proper plan to win. Nandashi doesn't take it well. Furious, he channels his energy into his arm and swings with all his might. But before the blow lands, Yoshido ducks low and counters with a devastating strike of his own. The hit connects so hard that Nandashi crashes face first into the ground. Yoshido doesn't even look back, he just walks away like the Chad he now believes he is. Seeing their boss laid out, Nandashi's men rush toward him in anger. But Yoshido doesn't flinch. Instead, he throws them a challenge, daring them to show him the skills they supposedly use to clear a boss. Then, without waiting for an answer, he strides into the tower, calling out for them to follow. On the 4th floor of the magic tower, Yoshido and the two ladies trail behind Nandashi's group toward the boss room. The girls are a bit uneasy about following the big guy, since they know he isn't exactly powerhouse material. At this level, one wrong fight could spell disaster. But to their surprise, Yoshido is completely unfazed, borderline relaxed. As they move along, Yoshido remembers how he first met these two. Both are strong, their levels much higher than his, so it makes sense for them to be cautious. But the current Yoshido, boosted stats and all, has full confidence in his fighting skills. In his mind, if anything goes south, he can just turn everything in his path to dust. Approaching the boss room, Nandashi suddenly warns Yoshido that they'll have to deal with the smaller mobs themselves. Watching Nandashi posture like that, Yoshido realizes he may have hiked himself up a little too much. But before he can overthink it, something approaches. Out of nowhere, a monster charges at Nandashi with its sword raised high. To his credit, the big guy manages to block the strike with his shield, but the lizardman is quick, easily dodging the counterattack. Nervous, Nandashi tries to brush it off, assuring the group that lizardman should be an easy fight. But Yoshido, standing just behind him, feels something is seriously off. And then it happens. Dark, glowing ash begins to scatter through the air. In the blink of an eye, dozens of lizardmen leap from the shadows surrounding the group. Leading them is a towering red-scale commander, who immediately orders an attack. The horde spreads out, charging from every angle. Instead of hiding like a sane person, Yoshido flips into full maniac mode, practically thrilled at the chaos. Meanwhile, the two girls spring into defensive positions, not for themselves, but to protect him. This leaves Yoshido completely baffled. He is annoyed that they don't realize who the hell he is now. He tries to tell them he can handle himself, but they shut him down. According to them, these opponents are way out of his league. Yoshido, of course, takes deep offense at this, but keeps his evil grin anyway, because if they think he's weak, well, the surprise will be even sweeter. Yuri also points out that Yoshido should fall back, since things are way too dangerous for him. Meanwhile, everyone else is busy cutting down monsters left and right, and there's Yoshido just standing there like some cuck, desperately trying to convince them he can fight too. Unfortunately, no one is listening because in their eyes, he's just a walking trash bag. While Yoshido is lost in his own thoughts, the team's big guy gets completely mangled by a red commander lizard. Even with his shield, he's sent flying like a sack of potatoes. Then, out of nowhere, a trap opens beneath Yoshido and he free falls straight into it, shocking everyone. He's equally stunned that he's the only one dropping, but then it clicks. This is the magic tower. It's full of traps just waiting to screw with challengers. But instead of panicking, Yoshido realizes that the current him doesn't really care about these traps. He kicks off the wall mid-fall and lands safely on the ground like it's no big deal. Looking around, he spots multiple red commander lizards lurking in the shadows. They notice him too, and it's pretty clear there's nowhere to run. Still, Yoshido isn't fazed. He's already dealt with worse, and honestly, he's sick of these traps. With a smirk, he draws his sword, ready to show these fools just how badly they messed up. One flash of his blade later, several lizards go flying. And right then, Yoshido knows that dragging him down here was the dumbest mistake they could have made. These creatures are all high rank, the kind that gave Yoshido hell in his previous state. But now it's a whole different game. One of them leaps at him, and with a single swing, our boy divides it clean in half. One by one, he cuts down the rest with quick, precise slashes, sending scales and tails flying everywhere. The remaining lizards just stand there in shock, as if they've suddenly realized their extra is in someone else's highlight reel. Yoshido doesn't give them a chance to rethink their life choices. He charges straight in, dashing from one to another, stabbing anything that twitches, while reminding himself he's no longer that weak sidekick, clinging to someone's pocket for protection. Now he's the one making these supposedly high-level creatures shake their booties. They honestly have no idea who they mess with. After wiping them out in no time, Yoshido finally exhales, scanning the area. His eyes land on a staircase leading back up. As soon as he returns to the upper level, the ladies rush over, worried he might be injured. To their relief, he looks perfectly fine, no scratches, no dents. Yuri claims they wanted to help but couldn't find a way, while Mana wonders if he got jumped by mobs down there. Remembering the pile of Commander Lizard corpses he left behind, Yoshido lies and casually says he ran into nothing at all. Noticing Nagashi's absence, Yoshido asks about him. The ladies explain that after Yoshido fell, the fatty went ahead and pressed on into the boss room, and apparently he was also the one who triggered the trap. Typical Nagashi. Yoshido doesn't even bother getting mad. That's just how the guy always is. Instead, he thanks both ladies for worrying about him and suggests they hurry if they want to catch up to Nagashi. But just as they're about to move, Yoshido spots something the others missed. A Commander Lizard Nagashi and his buddy fail to finish off. The creature suddenly rises, and in a flash, it lunges straight at Yuri, who hasn't even noticed it yet. Our Aura farmer doesn't waste a second. He rushes in, leaps off the ground, and blocks the lizard's attack with his bare arms. Yuri is stunned speechless, but Mana immediately gets into action, finishing off the beast with her daggers. Landing gracefully, she points out how reckless Yoshido's move was, but Yuri, with her big mommy milker's energy, thanks him for saving her. Mana, still impressed, notes how insanely fast his reaction was. Yoshido just shrugs, hinting that maybe he isn't as useless as everyone thinks. With that settled, the group continues to the 5th floor of the Magic Tower, a place glowing with a greenish atmosphere straight out of a bad RPG filter. Remembering his recent massacre of the Lizard Commanders, Yoshido checks his status and nearly drops his jaw, noticing that he gained 2 whole levels, with beefed up stats to match. The strange part is that they're marked as debuffs, which means inversion doesn't trigger on them. On top of that, his entire stat range has expanded thanks to inversion. The combo of inversion plus death penalty is starting to look disgustingly overpowered. But before Yoshio can finish nerding out over his numbers, Yuri points ahead with a trembling hand. Looking up, Yoshida realizes they're standing right in front of the 5th floor boss room. According to Mana, the tower has 10 floors, which makes this the halfway point. She and Yuri were actually the first ones to discover this boss. Kind of a weird flex, but okay. Unfortunately, when they tried to return to the safe zone on the 1st floor to prepare, their plans got wrecked, thanks to none other than the big fatty himself. Just thinking about it makes Mana rage while Yuri tries to calm her down. Our boy, noticing the tension, decides to just push forward and open the boss room door, pointing out that boss rooms are never that simple anyway. As the doors creak open, he casually strolls right inside. Meanwhile, Nagashi's team is already getting wrecked, tossed around by the boss like ragdolls at a kid's tantrum. One unlucky soul slams into the wall right next to Yoshido's group, which does nothing but terrify everyone even more. The big fatty, however, is still on his feet. Spotting Yoshido and the others, he has the audacity to tell them to watch closely as he handles this mid-level boss. The boss in question is a massive orc lord, who instantly leaps at him with a deafening roar. For a moment, Yoshido actually feels concerned for the guy. But Nagashi stands his ground, puffed up with confidence. With the Aegis Mimas' shield strapped to him, he's convinced he can block anything. And somehow, he actually does. The orc's crushing strike slams down, but the fatty manages to hold it back. One-on-one with that shield, Nagashi might as well be invincible. As the orc charges again, Nagashi grins and shouts for Yoshido to watch carefully, proudly declaring with his whole chest that he's built different. In the background, Yuri checks on one of Nagashi's men, who assures her he's fine. Despite being thrown into a wall like yesterday's trash, he's actually impressed by how their leader is holding his ground against the orc lord without budging an inch. Back at the main event, Yoshido watches as the monster charges again, channeling raw power into its strike. The impact creates a massive blast, but even that isn't enough as Nagashi blocks it effortlessly with his shield. The orc gets more and more pissed, finally whipping out a massive axe and swinging it around like a maniac. Still, every single hit bounces harmlessly off his shield. Nagashi, instead of being worried, is practically buzzing with excitement. Each block strike fuels his ego further, making him think that just standing there tanking shots means an automatic win. Yoshido, watching from a distance, knows the truth that it's all thanks to that ridiculous shield. A unique item drop from a tower boss is the only reason someone with Nagashi's laughably low personal stats can hold back attacks that would normally flatten him. The orc strikes again, and once more Nagashi blocks it clean. This time, though, he signals his men to counterattack. They rush past him, forcing the boss's focus to shift. Seizing the opening, Nagashi launches himself into the air and slams down with a heavy blow, actually sending the orc crashing to the ground. After landing his blow, Nagashi smugly points toward Yoshio, bragging that this is the true power of a challenger. Yoshio, however, can't help but roll his eyes, knowing full well it's all thanks to that busted shield. While fatty mocking them to bits, Nagashi's men suddenly get distracted, mesmerized by a beautiful treasure chest that's appeared behind them. The fatty bolts straight toward it, drooling at the thought of pulling something even rarer than the shield he already has. Hearing that, Yoshido is stunned. An item stronger than that shield, and just from a level 5 boss chest? Sounds way too good to be true, and that's exactly when it clicks for him. This is a trap. He instantly yells at Nagashi, realizing they've all let their guard down, forgetting that the tower's favorite hobby is luring challengers into deadly setups. Sure enough, the moment the chest is open, it's empty. Instead, a blinding golden light erupts from the ceiling, flooding the entire room. When the light fades, they all freeze because the scenery around them has completely changed. They're no longer in the same chamber. Nagashi stiffens, feeling a disturbingly familiar pressure fill in the air. Yoshido notices it too, but Nagashi admits it first. He's felt this exact presence before, back on the magic tower's top floor. Before anyone can process that, a dark magic circle forms in front of them. From it emerges a massive, terrifying figure. An ominous demon lord seated on a throne. According to Nagashi, this isn't just another boss fight, this is the real tower boss room. As the boss's eyes set on them, they start feeling an overwhelming pressure. Yoshido, still a bit concerned about it being a boss room, opens his system window, which confirms with a warning that it's indeed the top floor. Seeing this, Yoshido is terrified that the master of the magic tower, the Ober Emperor, is right in front of them. Wasting no time, the boss lunges from his seat and charges straight toward them. They barely manage to dodge his strike. While doing that, Yoshido realizes this creature is on another level and they can't fight it head-on, even all combined. He yells at the big fatty to get back, suggesting he'll handle it, but the fatty brushes him off. He warns him not to do something to get himself killed. Despite Yoshido having his death skills, a fatty rushes in with his men, and with a combined attack, they all swing at the boss. However, to their shock, it doesn't put a scratch on it, and the boss retaliates by loading up his massive fist to strike down. The fatty, seeing that, and overconfident in his shield, jumps in front to block. To everyone's shock, with the boss's one swing, the shield shatters into pieces. The fatty takes a direct hit, shocking everyone. Even the legendary shield wasn't able to block the attack. As Big Mac crashes to the ground, a warning screen flashes in front of him, informing that his Aegis Mimesis couldn't activate due to his insufficient stats. He's left completely baffled, while his two men panic and rush over to help him. Yoshido tries to stop them, but it's too late. The monster makes a lightning-fast move and wipes them out on the spot. That's when Yoshido finally snaps, realizing they now have no choice but to fight this massive beast head-on. The ladies, being the ladies, seeing the carnage, immediately decide the smartest play is to run. But as they turn toward the exit, their hearts sink, realizing the door is already sealed shut by a glowing magic circle. They're trapped in a boss room. Yuri, trembling, wonders if this is truly the end for them. But before she can even finish that thought, the boss charges and swings its colossal fist straight at her. In a flash, Yoshido appears in front of her, intercepting the blow. His eyes burn with rage as he roars that he won't let anyone else die to this bitch-ass monster. He squares it. He'll stop it, even if it costs him his own life. The boss swings at Yoshido, but our boy narrowly dodges by leaping aside and immediately breaking into a sprint. It's a close call. The monster wastes no time, launching itself forward with a massive jump and catching up in an instant. Yoshido barely evades again, heart pounding before spinning around mid-run and striking back at the beast. The girls, watching from the sidelines, are completely baffled. Their so-called femboy teammate is actually fighting a tower boss one-on-one. Who would have guessed? Even with his stats buffed by the death penalty, Yoshido quickly realizes the boss is still able to push him back. But honestly, he expected nothing less, as it is a tower boss after all. He also knows he doesn't have the raw stats right now to beat this thing head-on. So instead, he decides to play the long game, drain its stamina. Sure, it'll mean dying a few times, but that just makes him stronger anyway. With that plan in mind, he flashes toward the beast, moving with high agility as he leaps up and slashes at one of its horns. The boss retaliates instantly, smashing him with a brutal claw strike. Yoshido crashes down and goes unconscious on the spot. The girls tremble, horrified as they witness Yoshido die right in front of them. A system window immediately pops up, notifying him of a -55 penalty to agility. But thanks to inversion, he instantly flips the debuff into a shiny new stat boost. As Yoshido respawns, the girls look worried. Sure, his skill keeps him from dying for good, but each revival comes with a fresh debuff. And yet, the boy shows no signs of weakness. In fact, he just dies again. And again. And again. Only to come back stronger each time, like some kind of masochistic shonen protagonist. In his head, Yoshido is dead set on enduring the pain of death if it means stacking more powerful stats. But after so many deaths in a row, even with the shiny stat boosts, the agony is starting to wear him down. He can feel himself slowly slipping into madness. Then, to his delight, the system blesses him with exactly the buff he wanted. Attack. Not just any buff either, a chunky plus 140. His grin is practically feral. After dying yet again, Yoshido gets another surprise. His infinite revival skill upgrades, unlocking a brand new perk, the ability to choose his respawn point. At first he doesn't quite get it, but then it clicks. Oh yeah, this is busted. Without hesitation, he selects his new spawn point and reappears right on top of the boss's head. This time he's determined to finish the monster off on the spot. Yoshido realizes that this new feature is actually a lifesaver. Without it, he could have easily gotten stuck in an endless death loop, like respawning inside lava, dying instantly, then respawning in lava again, and so on forever. Now though, he can pick where he comes back, meaning he can dodge that nightmare entirely. But right now, mid-boss fight, he knows exactly how to use it. By respawning straight into the monster's blind spot, he has the perfect opening. With a flash, he appears on top of the boss and pours all of his strength into a heavy slash across his back. From the girls' perspective, it looks like Yoshido's respawn point shifted slightly, which confuses them, but they're too busy watching him go ham on the giant beast to question it. The monster, pissed about getting stabbed, swings back with terrifying force. Yoshido, though, dodges easily while still finding time to trash talk about Fatty and his crew. Deep down, he never wanted them to die. But since they did, he's now more determined to kill this boss than he is to grab any loot it might drop. Fueled by that resolve, he sidesteps another crushing blow, climbs the monster's arm like it's a jungle gym, and smacks it square in the face with a devastating strike. The impact sends the beast crashing to the ground. Yoshio stands over it, breathing out in relief. Suddenly, his system window pings, notifying that the boss is defeated and conquest reward is also acquired. The prize is sent straight to his inventory, but Yoshio doesn't feel triumphant, more like mixed emotions swirling in his chest. And right when he's having his main character moment, Yuri rushes in and hugs him tight with her melons pressed firmly against his back. Realizing what she's doing a moment later, she quickly pulls away, flustered. Mana follows up with a more polite thank you, grateful that Yoshio actually managed to take the boss down. According to Yuri, Yoshio basically saved their lives, but she also points out that the way he fought was completely reckless. Watching him die over and over again was painful, both physically for him and emotionally for them. As she apologizes for not being able to help more, Yoshio reassures her, even apologizing himself for making them watch his gruesome cycle of deaths. Still, he insists, no matter how many times he goes down, he'll always come back. Of course, as his main character energy finally wears off, reality kicks in. All the pain he'd been hiding clenching his ass cheeks suddenly hits him like a truck, and he lets out a blood-curdling scream. Clutching himself, he promises them that from now on, he'll try not to die so much. Hearing that, the girls light up, genuinely excited at the idea of their immortal punching bag finally fighting smarter. As they share the moment, a system notification cuts in, announcing that since the tower boss has been defeated, the entire tower will now vanish. Everyone inside will be forcefully relocated. As their bodies begin to fade into particles of light, they exchange hurried goodbyes, hoping to meet again in the real world. Yoshio, just before he disappears, looks back at the corpses of his fallen allies. He silently promises not to let their deaths be in vain. And with that, the tower crumbles into nothingness. Meanwhile, somewhere else inside a sleek corporate office, a woman sits behind her desk as an agent briefs her on the incident. The magic tower that had just disappeared wasn't even supposed to be half finished, yet its complete collapse has been confirmed. Addressing her as director, the man hands her a tablet with a detailed report on the matter. She takes it, scans the tower feed, and instead of concern, a mischievous excitement spreads across her face. Somehow, this whole situation just got a lot more amusing. Back in the city, our boy wakes up flat on the street while chaos unfolds around him. People are panicking, pointing, and screaming after watching the massive tower vanish right before their eyes. It takes Yoshio a couple of seconds to process what just happened, and then it hits him. He was the one who conquered the tower. For a brief moment, pride swells in his chest. He feels like a total badass until the crowd's murmurs reach his ears. Everyone's freaking out, wondering how in the hell the tower got cleared so early when it wasn't even supposed to have its 5th level beaten yet. Some are already theorizing that it must have been some insanely strong guy. Yoshio, for a split second, considers stepping forward to bask in the glory, but then he remembers all the casualties back inside and swallows the urge. Taking down a tower has definitely boosted his self-confidence, but he knows better than to get carried away. For now, keeping his identity secret is the smart move. Of course, fate doesn't let him sneak away that easily. His girlies spot him and yell out, instantly blowing his cover. They rush over, practically sparkling with excitement, way more curious about what kind of juicy loot he scored from the boss than the fact he just risked his life 100 times over. To Yoshio's horror, other bystanders overhear them and the dots connect fast. Suddenly, rumors start spreading that the so-called trash loser with the infinite revival skill might actually be the new official dominator. Wanting no part of the mob, Yoshio and the crew make a quick escape to grab some drinks, finally catching a breather. There, Yuri reminds him that after soloing a tower boss like that, there's no way he'll avoid attention for long. Yoshio, now officially labeled a dominator, feels weird about the whole thing. Not long ago, he was just a worthless nobody, yet here he is, accidentally proving that maybe, just maybe, that sketchy infinite revival skill was worth all the debt and pain after all. Hearing Yoshio talk about his skill, Yuri can't help but ask how he manages to use it so well despite all the nasty debuffs that come with it. The boy pauses, debating whether to spill the details or keep it to himself. Before he can decide, Yuri gently assures him that if it's uncomfortable, he doesn't need to answer. He knows explaining the skill wouldn't be that hard, but before he can even open his mouth, Mana cuts in, brushing the whole thing aside and steering the conversation straight back to the juicier topic, loot. She's way more interested in what shiny equipment he scored from the boss. Catching her enthusiasm, Yoshio admits that he hasn't actually been able to check yet. The system window can only be accessed inside a magic tower, along with stats and skills. That's why challengers who seem like overpowered monsters in the towers are just regular normies in real life. Well, except for one loophole, you can still use your powers at the site of a tower. With that in mind, the group heads straight for the spot where the tower collapsed. The moment they step inside the boundary, a strange energy prickles at their skin. Yoshido wastes no time opening his system window, and finally, the big reveal comes. The item he received is a sword named Fosamenos. The second he taps it, a surge of energy erupts, gathering in his hand and forming the shape of a massive, radiant blade. For a moment, Yoshido just stares, wide-eyed and amazed, because for the first time ever, he's holding a unique weapon that actually feels worthy of a main character. The ladies can't help but feel excited when they see Yoshido casually swinging around his brand new high-grade, mystical-looking sword. It glows like something straight out of a gacha game's 0.1% drop rate, and he's out here twirling it like a toy. To make it worse, he realizes it's lightweight and super easy to handle, grinning that he can't wait to test it out in the next tower. Meina, catching that hype, suddenly gets an idea. She walks up to him and formally invites him to join their team from the start next time. Yuri, not about to be left behind, blurts out that she wants in too. Our boy, with a smug little smile, accepts. After all, they're already friends, so why not make it official? The idea of forming a squad excites them all, but Meina quickly shifts gears, asking which magic tower they should hit next. She's already getting ahead of herself, suggesting they aim bigger this time and challenge a tower called Zeus. Yoshido, however, isn't so quick to jump in. He pauses, then admits he has somewhere he needs to go before tackling another tower. When Yuri presses, he casually reveals that he's planning a trip to the Challenger Management Bureau in Tokyo. Both girls are dumbfounded. They're thinking about epic boss fights, and this guy's talking about paperwork. But Yoshido explains it straight. The Bureau actually buys magic stones and other loot at way higher prices than anywhere else. He needs that cash, especially after blowing himself into poverty on the infinite revival skill. Clutching his head, he screams internally and externally about being broke. The girls finally get it, sharing a knowing look at his suffering. And with that, he heads straight for Tokyo's Challenger Management Bureau. The place is a government-run hub built exclusively for challengers, stuffed with information on every magic tower, plus the all-important loot exchange counters. The Bureau isn't just about paperwork and reports, it also has legit shops where challengers can buy and sell gear at fair prices, unlike the scammy rip-offs at the tower markets. On top of that, the whole building is constructed on top of a tower site, so challengers can freely access their system windows and check their weapons while inside. As for Yoshido, his big reward for clearing the dungeon wasn't just the shiny sword, he also walked away with a fat stack of magic stones he's now eager to cash in. He patiently waits his turn at the counter, until a receptionist calls him forward. Opening up his system window to check his haul, he taps it casually, only for dozens of stones to come tumbling out onto the counter. The receptionist freezes, wide-eyed at the pile, and Yoshido is just as stunned. He never expected this much from a single dungeon. With the exchange complete, he leaves the building, thrilled that his debt is gone, and he's suddenly rich. And naturally, his first thought is, where will he spend all this money? I mean, of course on girls. But before he can get carried away, his group warns him to use it wisely. Yoshido sulks, and just then, someone steps out of the bureau, calling his name. The moment Yoshido realizes they're after him, his instincts flare and a heavy pressure settles over his body. The figure approaching is none other than the woman from before, Rito Fuyun, chief director of Tokyo's Challenger Management Bureau. Stepping closer, she asks for a moment of his time, addressing him as Dominator, and to his shock, even speaks his full name aloud. Our boy is confused, because he definitely recognizes her face. After all, Rito Fuyun isn't just some random suit, she's the strongest person within the entire Management Bureau. Rumor has it she was scouted after conquering 3 magic towers on her own. On top of that, she's basically a local celebrity, showing up in commercials and variety shows. Honestly, Yoshido might have just recognized her from TV reruns. Thinking about it, he finally asks why someone like her, the chief of the bureau, would bother approaching him. Rito doesn't waste time. She explains that she wants to hold a hearing on how exactly he managed to conquer the tower so suddenly, and on top of that, she intends to personally verify the true power of the new Dominator. No pressure. With a simple gesture, she signals them to follow her. On the way, Yoshido recounts everything that went down, including how his party got teleported straight into the boss room by a trap. Rito thanks him for sharing such crucial intel. As for Fatty and his crew, well, press F in the chat, because she promises the Bureau will contact their surviving family members. At the mention of Nagashi, Rito notices the sadness flicker across the group's faces. She tries to reassure them, reminding them that losing lives in towers is unfortunately common, but still, she can see how painful it is. Hearing the word painful makes Yoshido realize that at this point, the only thing they can really do for Nagashi and the others is shed a quiet tear of respect. Once they gather themselves, the squad arrives at the Bureau's training room. But before Yoshio can even breathe, Rita opens her cistern window and suddenly, a sword comes shooting straight at him out of nowhere. He manages to catch the sword just in time, though he's a little shocked at how dull it feels. According to Rito, that's intentional. It's nerfed so it can be safely used in the training hall. Fair enough. With that explained, she draws her own blade and challenges him to a duel, wanting to see firsthand the true power of the new Dominator. Yoshio, not the type to back down, accepts immediately. Mana hypes him up on the sidelines, telling him to go in with full berserker energy. Firing up, our boy readies himself, determined to go all in. As the two face off, Yoshio quickly realizes his opponent is no joke. Still, he reminds himself that he just conquered a tower boss, so maybe, just maybe, he's got the chops to stand against her. With that confidence bubbling, he signals for her to make the first move. Bad idea. In a blink, Rito vanishes and reappears right in front of him. Her blade comes swinging down in an instant. Yoshio bends back just barely in time to dodge, but she's already following up with a barrage of swings. Fast, relentless, and way too precise. He blocks as best as he can, but the sheer force pushes him back, and before he can catch a breath, she closes the gap again and goes straight for his head. He narrowly avoids it, but the pressure is crushing. Yoshio quickly realizes the truth that even after defeating a tower boss, he's no match for this woman. But then it hits him. He's the guy who died over and over, tanked through pain, and kept standing back up. Why hesitate now? If defending alone isn't working, then screw it. He'll just go swinging like a lunatic. After all, the whole point of infinite revival is that fear of dying isn't supposed to slow him down. So when Rito charges in again with her flashy, lightning-fast speed, Yoshio makes his move. Instead of backing away, he charges right at her head-on. Seeing Yoshio charge straight at her, Rito actually hesitates for a split second, and that's when he realizes she's slowed down. For once, he's actually faster. Wasting no time, he swings at her, only to be shocked when she casually tilts her body and dodges. Still, the fact that she even had to dodge takes her aback. Before she can fully process it, Yoshio lunges again, yelling that if she were facing a monster or another challenger, that tiny hesitation would have been the end. It would have been a one-sided beatdown. Charging in defenseless, he figures that moment of doubt came from pure instinct. And hey, if instinct can trip her up, he's going to milk it for all it's worth. He swings again, proudly claiming it's all thanks to his infinite revival skill. Honestly, he admits out loud it might even be unfair. Rito blocks with ease, but Yoshio keeps running his mouth, insisting that if they fought fair, he wouldn't stand a chance against her anyway. As their blades clash, Rito recalls the reports she read on him, that ridiculous skill that lets him push forward without fear of death. Watching him dodge her counters with reckless abandon, she realizes just how terrifying that ability really is, but she's not about to let him run wild. Reading his movement, she catches an opening and without hesitation smacks the absolute shit out of him, casually claiming that little stunt won't happen again. It hurts. Bad. But Yoshio isn't finished yet. Grating his teeth, he lifts his sword again, catching Rito off guard this time and managing to hold her at its point. For the first time, her expression shifts. With a snap of her fingers, she dismisses the sword entirely and acknowledges his strength, declaring the duel his win. Meanwhile, Yoshio immediately collapses flat on the ground, completely drained. Barely conscious, he weakly requests a magical healing session before he passes out cold. After some quick first aid, Yoshio manages to sit up, dramatically revealing that he almost died. He tries to pull the "since I technically won, I'm just gonna head out now" card, but Rito immediately shuts that down. She insists she has something important to discuss. Since she's already verified his over-the-top busted power, she now wants to extend an official request from the Bureau challengers. According to her, this isn't just some random side quest. This one comes with a ridiculously hefty reward. We're talking straight-up cash, the kind that could make him filthy rich overnight. But for once, Yoshio doesn't care about the money. What really grabs his attention is the request itself. When he asks what's going on, Rito drops the bomb that a brand new tower appeared just a few hours ago. Right now, it's sealed off by the Bureau, but they want someone to sneak in and get the inside scoop. This quest isn't just any mission, it's the preliminary investigation of the Mage Tower called Persephone. And according to Rito, it's a job only Yoshio can pull off. In Yoshio's head, investigating a newly spawned tower sounds like literally the Bureau's job, so he's confused why they're dumping it on him. But Rito explains that they already sent 2 full parties of 5 and not a single person came back. The girls are in disbelief as she continues. A search team was dispatched to recover them, and what they found was even worse. Every single member of those 2 parties was dead right at the entrance of the tower. They looked like they had desperately tried to get out, but something stopped them. That raises another huge red flag, because normally the entrance to a tower is a guaranteed safe zone. Dying there should be impossible. To make things creepier, none of the bodies showed any visible wounds, like they just dropped dead. Hearing this, Rito admits she had the bodies retrieved and ordered the search team to pull back, since the situation was starting to look flat-out terrifying. Which means they currently have zero clue when, how, or by what those challengers were killed. That's the state of the Persephone Magic Tower right now. At this point, Yoshio finally puts it together. They want him on the job because of his busted infinite revival skill. Makes sense, he's the only one who can keep dying without filing a permanent complaint. Rito presses on, saying she has no intention of casually throwing his life away, but she also can't send any more people in just to die. So instead, she politely requests Yoshio to take this mission for her sake. Taken aback by how softly she asked, our boy agrees and is immediately shipped off to the Persephone Magic Tower. Stepping onto the first floor of the so-called safe area, he takes a moment to feel out the surroundings. He reminds himself why he's here, which is to investigate how those bureau guys croaked and to make it back out, especially for his group. Basically, Yuri would kill him herself if he didn't. For now, he pops open his inventory and whips out the Fozamento's sword, eager to test it again. Not too far away, a handful of dark skeleton warriors are on patrol, but they don't even get the chance to blink. Yoshida flashes forward and wipes them all out with a single clean swing. Smooth. Easy. Too easy. The sword feels so damn good he can't help but grin, ready to test out one of his unique skills next. But before he can flex, a thick blue smoke starts coiling around him, instantly triggering his panic meter. Then, ding, the system warning window pops up. Yoshida freezes, eyes widening as he reads it, realizing exactly what killed those bureau members. It's a curse that to a nasty one called the Curse of Persephone, and under its effect, the victim dies in 120 seconds. One glance at it and your timer starts ticking down. Yeah, so it turns out Rito was absolutely right to toss him into this nightmare instead of anyone else. If he were a normal dude, the death countdown would have sent him into a full-on panic spiral. But thanks to infinite revival, Yoshida couldn't care less. He knows that if he leaves the tower, the abnormal condition debuff cancels. The bureau members, on the other hand, probably tried sprinting for the exit. That explains why they were found dead in the so-called safe area. The curse went off literally a step before freedom. Bracing himself for more nonsense, Yoshida watches as the fog rolls past him, leaving him momentarily confused. Not that it matters, he's got his infinite respawn. Worst case, he drops dead and pops back up again like a stubborn weed. Sure enough, the curse timer hits 0 and keels over, only to instantly respawn with full health. As the curse effect reverses, his body feels freshly recharged, like he just chugged an energy drink in another life. Without wasting time, he dashes after the drifting fog, curious to see where it's headed. But the deeper he goes, the thicker it gets, until he stumbles into a huge hall. Right in the center lies a pool of glowing blue liquid humming with bad vibes. Looking at it, he quickly realizes that it might be the source of the fog. Before he can admire it too long, the thing suddenly spits out a massive energy ball straight at him. Yoshida barely dodges by a hair, and when he whips his head around to see the culprit, he notices a freaky demon called the Cursed Spring Gatekeeper, standing guard over the pool. The Gatekeeper wastes no time, immediately spamming energy ball blasts like a budget DBZ villain. Yoshida darts around in a zigzag, dodging every shot with smug precision. Missing all of his attacks only frustrates the monster more, so it cranks things up, using its power to lift the entire glowing pool into the air. The liquid evaporates into a thick cloud before being hurled straight at Yoshio. The cursed fog engulfs him, and the demon cackles like it's already game over. Yoshio, however, calmly realizes this is definitely the guy behind all that suffocating mist. Suddenly, overlapping system warnings flood his vision with multiple curse effects stacking. Before he can even process it all, a presence creeps up from behind. Yoshida whirls around just in time to decapitate a sneaky skeleton warrior. But then he notices there's not just one. Dozens of them are spilling out surrounding him. It doesn't take a genius to guess the Gatekeeper summoned them. Yoshida fights like hell, but sheer numbers overwhelm him. He goes down swinging while the freaky demon laughs at his misery. What the Gatekeeper doesn't realize, though, is that Yoshio has infinite life. Moments later, Yoshida revives, fully healed and ready. With a devastating slash, he cuts down several skeletons in one blow. In that instant, he understands that the tower's curse works like a powerful recovery medicine for him. Fueled by this realization, he rockets into the air and strikes the demon with a crushing slash. The Gatekeeper shatters, its curse vanishes with it, and the corrupted pool settles back into calm, glowing blue. Yoshida strolls back, loaded with all the juicy intel he dug up, and finally spills the truth about what really wiped out those bureau members in Persephone. Rito hears the report and is a bit taken aback, like, who knew a curse that cheap and broken actually existed? She even wonders if there's any way to counter it. Our boy, never missing a chance for flair, casually lobs a glowing blue potion her way. He explains that he snagged it after slapping down the gatekeeper and purifying the spring. Rito checks its status, and sure enough, it's the real deal. Persephone Holy Water. Not only does it dispel the curse, it grants full-blown immunity for 600 seconds on top. That's 10 whole minutes of get-out-of-death-free insurance. Yoshio believes that with this, even normal challengers will be able to advance without falling to the 3rd floor. He's already checked 3 levels of the tower, each containing a pool, and concludes the remaining floors are likely the same. From his understanding, the tower's demand is for challengers to purify the cursed springs and secure the holy water. This thorough analysis brings a smile to Rito's face as she realizes that with the warnings and countermeasures in place, the tower can be open even for regular challengers. With the challenge complete, she places a hefty stack of cash on the table as his reward. Yoshio is shocked at the amount, which Rito mistakes for greed, but he quickly assures her he is satisfied. Stepping out with his stack of cash, the boy is sweating bullets. The total, combined with the reward from the last tower, is straight up ridiculous. He's stressing about how anyone is supposed to spend this much money. It's simple. Buy Robux, dude. Simple. A few days later, Yoshito clears his infinite revival debt like a champ. With way too much cash still left over, he decides to flex and drips himself out in designer gear from head to toe. The man now looks like a customized GTA RP character, straight out of the loading screen. While basking in his newfound glory, he overhears his lady squad chatting. They're hyped about Persephone Tower being open to the public and are plotting to drag Yoshito along as challengers. Horrified, our boy does his best Metal Gear stealth impression, trying to avoid detection. Luckily, they walk past without noticing the suspiciously overdressed jaguar lurking nearby. Or so he thinks. Mana naturally senses something off and literally sniffs him out like a dog. She instantly realizes it's Yoshito, though she's clearly thrown off by his bizarre third-party DLC look. Yoshito, noticing her confusion, panics and blurts that's only because he has no idea how to spend money. Yuri, meanwhile, is vibing with his new drip, thinks he looks cool. Mana, however, isn't buying it. She wants him to ditch the cringe fashion flex and focus on what actually matters, joining them for an attempt at Persephone Tower. When Yoshito finally asks what's so special about Persephone, it's revealed that the magic stones inside the tower have been corrupted by the cursed fog. That corruption apparently makes them super expensive, so naturally half the challenger community is already speedrunning their way inside. In fact, challengers have already reached the 10th floor in just a few days, a pace that feels way too sus to be normal. Meanwhile, Mana is salty. She's tired of Yoshito being the only one stacking ridiculous amounts of cash and insists he owes the squad a little profit sharing. Yuri, on the other hand, couldn't care less about the money. She's just happy to tag along with Yoshito, no matter the tower. Our boy, thinking maybe holy water will help minimize the cursed risk, reluctantly agrees to join. Of course, he also wants to change clothes first. Meanwhile, far above them in the tower's upper floors, the mood is not so lighthearted. Multiple challengers lie sprawled out, dead on the ground, clutching bottles of healing water that clearly did nothing. Among the corpses, a demon gatekeeper roams the floor, calmly waiting for the next batch of overconfident victims. A while later, on the 10th floor of the Magic Tower, skeleton warriors are getting absolutely mangled by none other than our boy Yoshio. He's having the time of his life, casually blocking and slashing them into bone confetti. With that, he dings up to level 16, which the girls immediately notice Yoshio's clearly stronger than before. According to him, all that grinding was bound to push his level up. Deep inside, though, he knows it doesn't actually boost his stats much, it's just nice for clout. While he's pondering his fake gains, a system warning pops up, only 1 minute left on his holy water buff. Yuri instantly panics, but Mana reminds them that they already purified the floor's spring, so it shouldn't be a big deal. Still, she suggests Yoshito chug some extra holy water just to be safe. Our boy, however, hesitates because thanks to his curse inversion skill, holy water healing might actually flip into holy water hurting. The girls, of course, have no clue about his cursed little problem, so Yoshio finally decides it's time to spill the tea. But before he can explain, the giant ghost drops down from above and lunges straight at the group. Yoshito yells, but it's already too late. The ghost latches onto Yuri and in a flash drags her away. As the ghost floats further back, it turns around with the audacity to start spewing cursed fog at the girl. And of course, Yuri's holy water protection wears off at the worst possible moment. The system window slaps her with a shiny new 120-second death timer. Meanwhile, Yoshido stands there stunned. Not only did they just run into a monster that throws curses around like candy, but they did it exactly when their holy water expired. Peak bad timing. As Yoshido is still processing the situation, Mana rushes in to save her friend. To her surprise, the ghost casually blocks all her attacks like it's nothing, then counters with a nasty strike that sends her flying. Luckily, Mana twists midair and lands on her feet, though she's clearly rattled. Yoshido jumps in next, sword blazing with rage, and charges straight at the ghost. He swings like a maniac, but every strike is blocked with ease. That's when it hits him that this thing isn't some random mob, it's a full-on boss-tier monster. Our boy quickly hops back, realizing the ghost hasn't even bothered to go on the offensive yet. It's been all defense, and that's a big red flag. Yoshido can't figure out the ghost's strategy, but Mana doesn't care. She keeps pressing forward, panicking over Yuri's death timer ticking down. Meanwhile, Yuri is clinging to the ghost, sobbing and begging it to let her go. The ghost just stares at her, then lets out a zesty laugh before its aura surges. With a wicked grin, it unleashes a spell called Soul Expunger. That's when Yoshido finally gets it that the ghost isn't fighting randomly. Its whole purpose is to corner challengers right as their holy water wears off, then feast on the fear of their ticking death clocks. This realization makes our boy absolutely furious, so with sword in hand, he gets ready to unleash pure hell on this smug, cursed freak. As Yoshido strikes again, the ghost blocks it once more, this time tossing the zesty little laugh just to mock him. Our boy recoils, but before he can react, the ghost makes a break for it. Naturally, Yoshido and Mana give chase, only to turn a corner and walk straight into a horde of skeleton soldiers waiting to charge. Classic trap. Yoshido instantly realizes they've been played, while Mana stiffens for a second. But she's not the type to stay scared. If anything, she looks fired up. The moment a skeleton tries to sneak attack, she flashes forward and slices it clean in half like it was paper. Seeing that, Yoshido asks if she can keep up. She gives the green light, so the two of them dive headfirst into the mob, cutting through skeletons like they're running a speedrun. But then things get messy. Archer skeletons join the party, letting arrows rain down. Yuri, caught off guard, freezes for a second, but Yoshido leaps in and blocks the barrage just in time. He knows they're running out of clock as Yuri has less than a minute left on her curse, and the thought makes his chest tighten. Channeling everything he's got, Yoshido roars forward, carving out a bloody path through the swarm. In the chaos, one of the skeleton warriors drops loot, a grim-looking item called Corpse's Grudge. Its effect is instant death to whoever wears it for 5 seconds. Anyone else would scream hell no, but Yoshido, he grins. That's basically tailor-made for him. Thanks to his inversion skill, 5 seconds of death just means free healing. With no need to defend anymore, Yoshido charges in like a madman, leaping across the skulls of skeleton warriors as he heads straight for the ghosts. In moments, he reaches its back and prepares his final strike. He activates his special sword skill, 7 Strike Assault, a devastating technique that delivers 7 heavy blows, but with the drawback of a long cooldown if interrupted. Yoshido knows the timing is critical, but he carries the ring. As it closes in, the ghost counters with a powerful slash, tearing into him. Yoshido screams in pain, but the ring's 5-second death timer, combined with inversion, heals the fatal wound instantly. The recovery allows him to continue his assault, landing a strike across the ghost's face and sending it flying. Yoshido presses forward, but each time the monster counters, inversion restores his body, letting him fight on. Blow after blow, the clash intensifies until Yoshido reaches his 7th and final strike, the strongest of them all. He channels every ounce of power into the attack and unleashes it in a single crushing blow. Energy explodes across the entire area as the strike lands. The strike is so brutal it slices the ghost clean in half, finally freeing Yuri from its grip. She free falls, but Yoshido catches her midair and lands safely with her in his arms. When she opens her eyes, she was full anime flustered, staring up at her accidental Prince Charming. It's almost a moment until Mana barges in like the ultimate cuckold, yelling about the curse and ruining the vibe. They scramble to work fast, splashing Yuri with holy water. Thankfully, it debuffs the curse. Still, Mana is visibly shaken. The fact that the ghost deliberately waited for the holy water's effect to wear off before attacking proves just how annoyingly smart it was. As they regroup, Yoshido's system flashes multiple warning screens in his face. He quickly realizes it's all because of that death ring he picked up earlier. He starts sweating, wondering if it has a lifespan. Right on cue, the thing begins cracking, spilling dark smoke like a busted vape. Yoshido panics, convinced it's about to explode or summon something cursed beyond reason, while the girls are still busy yapping in the background. He tries to yank it off, but of course, it won't budge. Instead, the ring starts glowing bright enough to fry his retinas. When the light finally fades, he stares wide-eyed at the system notification. The ability of the Death Ring has maxed out, and now it has evolved. Now it's officially upgraded into something way worse, the Corroded Ring. The new system message catches Yoshio off guard, but when the girls press him about it, he admits the shiny loot ring he picked up seems to do absolutely nothing. Not taking chances, he even equips it right away and starts wondering what their next move should be. Mana, always the practical one, suggests they just grab the magic stones and head back, especially since Yuri is looking like she just went 3 rounds with a ghost and lost. Yuri, flustered but determined, apologizes and insists she'll at least pull her weight in collecting stones. With that, the group moves out, slicing down skeleton warriors and bagging magic stones like it's grocery day. The conquest of the magic tower continues surprisingly smoothly, and thanks to the tower's rising popularity, more challengers flood in. Before long, the boss room on the 30th floor is discovered, but something about it feels off. Later, at the Challenger Bureau branch, Yoshido is lounging with a drink in hand, eavesdropping like the professional slacker he is. 2 other challengers are gossiping about the sealed boss room on the 30th floor, and his ears perk up. Just as he's tuning in, his 2 ladies show up, reminding him they're heading for that exact boss room today. Yoshido points out they don't even know how to open the sealed door. But before he can spiral into overthinking, Mana casually drops the clutch info. One of her acquaintances found a hint about unlocking it on the tower's top floor. This shocks Yoshido, but the girl continues, explaining that the hint is a single cryptic phrase. As proof of many deaths, raise the proof of decay. Our new boy has no clue what that means, and honestly, neither do the ladies. Yuri chimes in, pointing out that plenty of challengers in the magic tower have been picking up rings with a death effect on them. Yoshido raises an eyebrow at that, while Mana suddenly remembers that he's carrying one himself. They piece it together. If Yoshido managed to snag one even after mowing down a mountain of skeletons, then the item must be limited to 1 per person. And according to rumors, the ring might actually be some kind of key. Yoshido keeps repeating the weird phrase in his head, but when Yuri mentions that no one's been able to open the boss room even with the ring, something clicks. Without saying a word, he stands up and starts heading straight for the exit. Because in his mind, it all makes sense now. Maybe his ring is the real deal, a magic key. After this, they head straight to the 30th floor of the magic tower. On the way, Yoshido can't help but worry about what will happen if his guess turns out to be wrong. In his mind, he already pictures Mana treating him like some simp dog who barked up the wrong tree. Lost in his thoughts, he snapped back when Yuri asks the same question out loud. Yoshido explains that the ring changed into a different item after reaching its death effect limit. Hearing the words death effect, Yuri nearly loses it, but then quickly remembers that he has infinite revival anyway. She calms down sort of. Yoshido shrugs it off, pointing out that after the transformation, the ring has no effect at all, not even the system has information on it, which in his eyes is exactly what makes it so suspicious. He believes this is the answer to the puzzle. Activating the ring multiple times is the proof of many deaths, and the ring itself is the evidence of decay. Hearing his explanation, the girls actually look impressed, which makes our boy blush a little. But deep down, he knows everything is riding on this ring. Soon they reach the 30th floor boss room. To their bad luck, the door doesn't budge an inch. Mana tries a few times before giving up and suggesting Yoshio should give it a shot. Anxious but still clinging to his prediction, our boy steps forward. He raises the ring dramatically, pointing it at the door like he's about to summon Exodia. And nothing. Not even a tiny fart. The silence is painful, so Yoshido covers his embarrassment the only way he knows how, by nervously laughing like an idiot. But then the ring actually starts glowing. A surge of energy bursts out, engulfing the door until it creaks open with a heavy rumble. Yoshido thanks every god he can think of. Finally, his theory worked. But then reality hits. Oh yeah, there's a boss inside. And if it's the 30th floor boss, it's definitely not going to be a pushover. Before he can even turn to the girls to suggest a plan, a massive dark hand shoots out of the doorway and yoinks him inside. The girls are left screaming his name as the hand slams him against the floor. They rush in after him, but the door instantly slams shut, sealed by a glowing magic circle. Classic dungeon rule, once you're in, no takebacks. Yoshio already knew this though. As he pushes himself up, a swirling portal of blue energy rips open in front of him. From it steps out the creepiest skeleton boss yet, glowing eyes locked on the group. The thing doesn't even need to flex, just slams his walking stick into the ground and the entire floor trembles. Its whole body radiates with power like some endgame DLC enemy. Then it lets out a scream so loud the shockwave rattles the walls. Yoshida braces himself and barely manages to block it, his arms shaking. As the echo fades, he realizes the truth. The responsibility of opening this door was all on him. And that means only one thing. He has to beat this bony bastard. The boss's name is the Elder Bone Priest, and of course it doesn't talk like a normal skeleton. It's muttering in some creepy, ancient, curse-sounding language like a horror movie with no subtitles. After a few ominous chants, it hurls flaming blasts at Yoshido's group, the explosions forming a fiery wall around them. Naturally, out of that fire comes a swarm of skeleton followers, marching straight for the party. Yoshido instantly realizes that if he doesn't thin the herd fast, they're toast. So he goes for the big brain move, skip the minions, yeet himself straight at the priest, take out the leader, then clean up the rest. Except, nope. The moment Yoshido strikes, the priest casually summons a giant shield that blocks his attack like it's nothing. Then, just a flex, it counters with a blast that launches him across the room. Our boy barely manages to recover mid-roll, but one skeleton manages to sneak up behind him and stabs him in the chest. Then 2 more dogpile him, finishing the job. Suddenly, the infinite revival kicks in. The system slaps him with a debuff, but his goofy inversion skill just flips it into a buff. He respawns right above the skeleton squad and drops in hot sword swinging. But these aren't your average brittle bones. Even though they look like generic skeleton mobs, their attack power and speed are cranked way up. Yoshido's sweating bullets trying to fight even one of them, and there are a whole bunch. Soon, Yoshido gets completely overwhelmed by the skeleton mob, dragged and tossed like a ragdoll. Pinned down by 100 bony hands, our boy is basically served up as a sacrifice snack. Meanwhile, the ladies are doing everything they can to hold the line. Yuri summons whirlpools of water, trying to spin the skeletons, but to her shock, it barely slows them down. Mana fights with all she's got, but the sheer number of minions swarming them is just too much. On the floor, Yoshido is struggling beneath the pile of skeleton arms, worrying about his party even while being used as a chew toy. The Bone Priest, clearly not one for subtlety, pulls out a nasty ritual dagger and slices Yoshido's arm clean off. Blood sprays everywhere like a busted ketchup bottle, and our boy's scream echoes through the chamber. The skeletons keep him pinned, gnawing and tearing at him while he thrashes in rage. He tries to rise, but the mob shoves him right back down, munching away as if they're at an all-you-can-eat buffet. Blood paints the floor in wild splatters until, finally, Yoshido's body gives out. As he fades, he catches one last image of the Bone Priest towering above him, slamming down the final blow. In that moment, Yoshido realizes this whole thing is going to be trauma fuel for life. Death comes again, but not before the priest lets out a maniacal laugh. Almost like it knows the boy can't truly die, but at least enjoys the fact that he feels every ounce of pain. Even with infinite revival, our boy isn't safe from trauma. The pain sticks. He still remembers that brutal slash that took his arm, followed by the skeleton buffet that chewed him up like midnight fried chicken. Soon enough, he drifts back into the death realm, tempted for a moment to just let it all go. But then he remembers Yuri and Mana, and with that, he decides that he can't slack off now. If he has infinite revivals, then he'll use them to beat this boss and save his friends. Of course, that's easier said than done. Yoshido keeps telling himself not to fear, but his body clearly didn't get the memo. It's shaking like a washing machine on max spin. Still, he forces himself back. Using the location reset, he respawns a bit away from the mob. The moment he reappears, he sees his friends, but also feels the weight of the fear and pain from just moments ago. The trauma is so fresh that his body refuses to move even as Yuri and Mana are cornered by skeleton soldiers and the boss himself. The door is still sealed shut, until suddenly, to everyone's shock, the barrier explodes into shards of light. Where the dust settles, a Chad-looking dude with a golden sword steps through. He looks mildly surprised to see someone already inside, considering this seal was supposed to be unbreakable. But one glance at the chaos tells him everything. This situation is royally screwed. As all eyes shift to him, 2 sneaky skeleton soldiers try to jump Yoshido from behind. But the newcomer comes in clutch, slicing them both apart with ridiculous speed. Then in true hero fashion, he declares himself as Okiyomi, the Dominator King of the Tower, and assures everyone that no one is dying on his watch. Hearing the title Dominator King, the boy recalls that it is given only to those who have conquered more than 100 magic towers, a feat achieved by only a few in the entire country. Returning to the present, Okiyomi pushes aside any discussion of his title, choosing instead to focus on the situation at hand. He raises his sword, igniting it with flames, and unleashes its unique skill, Floga Ellenhose. A whirlwind of fire surges forth, burning the skeleton warriors to a crisp. Yoshido watches in awe, while the Bone Priest, realizing his minions are destroyed, leaps back and attempts to flee. Okiyomi quickly closes the distance and strikes with a powerful swing. The Bone Priest summons a magical shield in defense, and the clash sends out a massive shockwave. As the dust clears, Yoshido is stunned to see the bone priest wounded by the slash, only for Okiyomi to follow up with another finishing blow, driving the creature to the ground, defeated. As the monster takes its final breaths, Okiyomi steps aside, leaving the last strike to Yoshio. It's clear to him that the boy has endured much, and this moment must be settled by his own hands. Clutching his sword, Yoshido approaches the fallen monster. Memories of pain and trauma flood his mind, yet with one decisive swing, he brings it to an end. In that instant, hope returns as he feels he can fight once more. As the boy finishes the priest, Okiyomi notices in his eyes that the act has helped him overcome his fear. When the boy steadies himself, Okiyomi acknowledges his growth and declares him the new dominator of the Tower of Persephone. The announcement shocks Yoshio, for he believes Okiyomi is the true conqueror, having carried the battle. Yet Okiyomi explains that the tower's system always grants dominion to the one who delivers the final blow. A notification window appears announcing the rewards, a unique weapon and several magic stones. Yoshido, still uncertain, offers to hand them over to Okiyomi, but Okiyomi declines, assuring him that he already possesses top-grade equipment. Instead, he insists that Yoshido and his group use the rewards to grow stronger. Yoshido's companions are struck by his generosity, and their surprise deepens when Okiyomi requests only to see the unique weapon. When Yoshido opens the system window, a staff materializes before them, a relic called Arcanum Aqua. According to Okiyomi, is classified as a magic sword, though its form resembles a staff. Yoshido, however, is not skilled in magic. After a moment of thought, he offers the weapon to Yuri, asking her to try it. She freezes, uncertain how to respond, before admitting she feels undeserving. In her mind, neither she nor Mana had contributed against the boss, just as they had been powerless in the previous battle. According to Yuri, she and Mana are nothing but a burden on him, and Mana adds that they should never have formed a party in the first place. Yoshido, hearing this, silences them, admitting his own uselessness against the boss, since it was Okiyomi who truly saved them. Yet Mana insists that to Yoshido, they are still only burdens he feels obligated to protect. As they argue, they stand on opposite sides of a massive crack in the ground carved by Okiyomi's earlier strike. It is then that Yuri decides they should part ways, choosing to climb towers separately in order to grow stronger. When they are finally strong enough, they promise to reunite and continue forward together. While she speaks, she tells Yoshio to hold onto the sword until that time, but he casually tosses it across to her instead, stating that she needs it more. If they truly wish to become stronger, they must use everything they can. In the midst of their exchange, the system window appears, announcing that the tower will vanish in 10 seconds now that the boss has been defeated. In an instant, the party is scattered, each transported out of the collapsing tower. Outside, Yoshido's tears flow as he faces the reality of parting from his old companions. At his side, Okiyomi calls his name and tells him he can stay with him if he wishes, not only to pass the time, but also so he does not feel alone. The man reveals that he has been summoned by the chief of the management bureau. Since he usually works in the central region, a call like this can only mean something serious is underway. As for the tower, he admits he entered simply to kill time before the meeting. That is how he happened to encounter Yoshido. Meanwhile, as Yoshido walks beside him, he wonders why someone like Okiyomi would go so far for a stranger. Deep down, he knows his infinite revival ability was never revealed in front of Okiyomi, so that cannot be the reason for his interest. To his shock, Okiyomi explains that he heard from Rito herself that Yoshido will one day become the dominator of the next generation. At first, Okiyomi was surprised to hear his name, since Yoshio appears to be nothing more than an ordinary boy. Yoshido insists that this is true. He couldn't even stand against the boss, but Okiyomi pushes him to keep trying, encouraging him not to give up. As they continue talking, the Chad notices they still have time before the meeting and suggests they go shopping for a breather. He insists it will be his treat and even offers to teach Yoshio how to manage money wisely. Yoshio is amazed at the idea of learning directly from one of the best and grows excited. Together, they indulge in the finest gear they can find before heading toward the meeting. Inside Rito's office, she doesn't recognize Yoshio at first because of his strange new outfit, but soon realizes it really is him. Okiyomi, on the other hand, praises Yoshido, saying that a prominent figure like a dominator should at least carry some sense of fashion. Still, Rito finds his look completely over the top. Yoshido immediately snaps back, calling her out for dressing sloppily at home. To silence their doubts, Rito casually flexes by showing them a fashion magazine cover with her own picture on it. The boy instantly drops to his knees like a helpless admirer. Moving back to the point, Okiyomi asks why she summoned him. Rito explains that the Bureau is preparing a large-scale operation targeting the most dangerous magic-infested zone, the Great Tower of Zeus. Okiyomi is unsurprised, having already suspected as much. The death toll there has risen sharply, and countless floors remain uncleared. Rito continues, explaining that the unconquered floors are filled with treasures, which will be distributed equally among the challengers. Teams will be divided into squads according to ability. She warns, however, that unlike other towers, this one is exceptionally dangerous and casualties are expected. To minimize the losses, she wants Okiyomi on the front lines. As the dominator who once conquered a great tower in the central region, he is the ideal choice. Okiyomi, calm as ever, agrees without hesitation, reasoning that if it saves lives, it is worth it. As the weight of this heroic decision settles, Yoshido begins to feel out of place until Okiyomi unexpectedly requests that Yoshido be placed on the front lines as well. Shocked to the core, the boy can hardly process the words, and to make matters worse, Rito accepts the proposal without objection. Now officially partnered with Okiyomi, Yoshido can do nothing but sweat nervously, screaming frustration from the inside. Before heading to the Tower of Zeus, the duo first visits the Proteus Magic Tower. During the earlier meeting, Rito revealed that they still had time to relax before the Zeus conquest, suggesting they spend it however they wished. Okiyomi, unwilling to sit idly, immediately asked for a nearby tower where they could train. Before taking Yoshido to the front lines, he wanted to sharpen the boy's skills as much as possible. As Okiyomi laughs in his old grandpa-like manner, Yoshido silently wonders if he even has a choice in the matter, but Okiyomi makes it clear that he does not. When questioned further, Okiyomi explains that he wants Yoshido to grow stronger, and in his eyes, no one else is more suited for that role. While they discussed it, Rito recommended the Proteus Tower if they were serious about leveling up. The monsters there are high level, and recently a magic stone mining site was discovered within, making it a popular destination for adventurers. Hearing this, Okiyomi decided they would head there, and while at it, he hoped to defeat its boss as well. In the present, he stands before a Proteus warrior. Here, Okiyomi intends to test Yoshido's limits, urging him to take on the monster alone. The boy accepts, charging straight in and knocking the warrior back with a powerful swing. They exchange blows, dodging and striking in turn, but Yoshido quickly notices an opening in the warrior's pattern. He counters precisely, sending the creature crashing to the ground. Just as he takes a breath of relief, the warrior catches him off guard and hurls its spear directly at him. Okiyomi restrains himself from interfering, determined to see the boy's true ability before deciding whether to bring him along. The spear pierces Yoshido's chest, throwing him violently to the ground. He bleeds out only to respawn moments later, retaliating with a powerful slash that severs the warrior's arm. It is then that Okiyomi realizes the truth. Yoshido possesses the infinite revival skill. He had suspected it before, but now he knows for certain the boy is a being who cannot die. Meanwhile, Yoshido utters a dramatic line toward the disarmed warrior, but to his shock, a grotesque appendage bursts from his body and impales him through the chest. Once more, the boy revives, this time invoking his inversion skill as well, though he still feels the lingering pain of the fatal strike. Fueled by anger, he surges forward, sword in hand, and lunges at the warrior with unrestrained fury. As their strikes collide, the warrior's swing pushes Yoshido back. He retaliates with multiple attacks, yet the warrior blocks every one of them. The boy is shocked that he cannot land a single blow. Then, from the corner of his eye, he notices a faint glimmer. Suddenly, another slash comes at him with blinding speed. Yoshido barely manages to dodge, only to realize with horror that it comes from a second warrior. Within moments, more of them appear, surrounding him on all sides. Unable to believe what he is seeing, Yoshido desperately tries to defend himself against their relentless assault. He dodges and parries as best he can, but the pace is overwhelming. Just as he struggles to hold on, Okiyomi finally steps in, declaring the observation complete. With a single sweeping slash, he mangles the warriors and sends them crashing to the ground. Even Okiyomi admits his amazement at Yoshido's power, but now it is his turn to demonstrate. As two more warriors leap at him, he engulfs his blade in flames and with a mighty swing incinerates them to ash. Yoshido can only stare, mouth wide open, as Okiyomi calmly remarks that he has far more to show. Yoshido assures him that what he just displayed is already more than enough. Though Okiyomi remains slightly annoyed, he had hoped to fight with the same desperation Yoshido had shown for survival. After a brief exchange, they both calm down and turn to their next plan. Okiyomi recalls Rito's words about a large magic stone mine nearby. He explains that magic stones are overflowing with power, attracting monsters to their vicinity. Some creatures even absorb their energy, which is why areas rich in stones are home to especially dangerous foes. From this, Yoshido concludes that their task is simple: find the monsters near the stones and take them down. Okiyomi agrees. Meanwhile, deeper within the mine, the challengers who manage to reach it are busy harvesting stones, unaware of the danger lurking nearby. A powerful monster hides in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. A while later, the duo arrives at the mining area on the 25th floor, amazed by the sheer number of stones scattered throughout. For Yoshido, it is his first time seeing such a place, as none of the previous towers he conquered contained anything like this. He nearly loses his composure as his last exchange of magic stones had already earned him a fortune, and the thought of harvesting this many makes him feel dizzy with greed. Without wasting a moment, he suggests they begin mining. But Okiyomi reveals something unfortunate. According to him, there are not many explorers mining here for a reason. The stones in this area are relatively low in magical power. When magic stones form, they compete with the surrounding mana, which is why clusters like this are often of poor quality. Even if they are mined, they won't bring much profit. Still, some challengers harvest them for the steady, if modest, income. As Okiyomi explains, Yoshido overhears two nearby challengers celebrating the discovery of a particularly large stone. Watching them, he is reminded of Yuri and Mana, the companions he was separated from, and a pang of loneliness creeps into him. What he doesn't notice, however, is that he already has a new companion at his side, a larger-than-life best friend ready to cheer him up. Okiyomi nudges him, prying into whether he has a crush on either of the girls, but Yoshido brushes it off in embarrassment. Okiyomi teases Yoshido, asking if he has a crush on one of the girls he had been with, since both were cute. He even throws Rito's name into the mix, pressing whether Yoshido has interest in any of them. Embarrassed, Yoshido brushes it off, insisting they entered the tower for training, not romance. Okiyomi argues back, but before their banter can continue, Yoshido notices the group of girls ahead, moving deeper in search of larger magic stones. The girls struggle as they attempt to mine one, finding it far harder than the stones they had collected before. What they fail to realize is that the stone they are striking is no ore at all, but a dormant monster. Yoshido senses the danger immediately, yet before he can intervene, the massive rock beast awakens, lurching forward and chasing them down. The monster swings to crush them, and the girls narrowly leap aside. Refusing to relent, it shatters crystals from its own body and hurls the jagged shards like weapons. In a flash, Yoshido rushes in front of them, blocking every shard with his sword. He checks on the girls, telling them to run, and while he stands tall in that moment, reality cuts deep as several shards have pierced into him. He collapses to the ground, bleeding heavily. A faint smile remains. For once, he feels proud, happy that he was able to save someone, even if it cost him his life. In his fading moments, Yoshido clings to one last hope, that one day he can become as cool and heroic as his friend Okiyomi, saving others like a true Chad. Yoshido dreams of conquering magic towers and never having to worry about money again, but deep down he wonders, what would he even do after that? He has no answer, yet the memory of Okiyomi helping the others at Persephone's magic tower still pushes him forward. Crushed by the rock monster while protecting the girls, Yoshido falls, but his infinite revival activates. With it, he suffers a minus 34 intelligence debuff, which immediately flips into plus 34 thanks to his inversion skill. Revived and determined, he rises again, knowing that if he truly wants to catch up to Okiyomi, he must keep training. With renewed resolve, he charges straight at the monster, sword in hand. He leaps and slashes, only to realize the truth: the beast's body is far tougher than expected. Even his unique sword can't cut through its hardened shell. Meanwhile, Okiyomi is nowhere near the battle. Instead, he is guiding other challengers to safety. Two guards panic about not being able to stop the monster, but Okiyomi calmly assures them that his friend will handle it. Yoshido overhears this, and with grit, blocks every shard of crystal the beast hurls at him. He presses forward, charging again, when Okiyomi suddenly calls out, asking if Yoshido has intelligence. At first, Yoshido takes it as an insult, but Okiyomi clarifies. He means his intelligence status. If the number is high, Yoshido should use it to observe the monster and uncover the secret of its durability. With that, Okiyomi leaves the fight to him. Yoshido pauses for a moment, now truly considering what his friend meant. In this world, intelligence is not just knowledge, but the very power to control and manipulate magic. The higher the stat, the greater the possibilities it unlocks. Thanks to Yoshido's infinite revival, his intelligence increases, but it is still not at the level where he can freely wield magic. Checking his system window, he notices a new notification. Since his intelligence has reached a certain threshold, he has unlocked the abilities Magic Sensing and Magic Manipulation. Magic Sensing allows him to perceive the flow of magical power, while Magic Manipulation enables him to consolidate and control it. Surprised at first, Yoshido recalls that his recent death boosted his intelligence, and now he can finally use these skills without hesitation. Activating Magic Sensing, he begins to see the flow of energy within the creature. At first it reveals nothing unusual, but soon he realizes the truth. The monster is cloaking its entire body in a dense layer of magic, which explains its hardened shell. Before he can analyze further, 3 glowing orbs form above the creature. In the next instant, it fires devastating beams of energy. Yoshido narrowly dodges them, but the sheer pressure sends him flying across the chamber. Even with his new perception, he realizes defeating it will be no easy task. Yet, as he observes more closely, he notices a flaw. The shell's structure is unstable, weighed down by the sheer concentration of magic stones embedded within it. Spotting this weakness, Yoshido steels himself, charges forward, and prepares to rip the shell apart. Closing in, Yoshido confirms that the monster's magic barrier becomes unstable whenever it fires its energy blasts. If he can strike with enough power at the right moment, he might be able to break through its shell. But first, he needs to destroy the surrounding magic stones to harness their energy. As he works on that, the monster unleashes another wave of energy shards. Yoshido reacts quickly, dodging and blocking with sharp precision, while simultaneously cutting down the stones one by one. With each strike, more magical energy fills the air, and soon he has gathered enough to attempt his next move. Activating magic manipulation, he draws in the surrounding energy, letting it absorb into his body. A shimmering shell forms around his arm and sword, and before long, his blade is fully encased in raw magical power. Yoshido can feel the strength surging within him, enough to rival a monster's defenses. With fierce determination, he dashes forward and unleashes a devastating strike. The impact resonates through the chamber, leaving a visible crack in the creature's barrier. It isn't enough to finish the job, but Yoshido isn't done yet. He prepares his unique skill, 7 Strike Assault. The moment he activates it, the monster retaliates, launching a barrage of shards. Yoshido deflects them with ease, pressing onward as he charges his sword once more with condensed magic power. As he approaches, the monster rips chunks of its own crystal armor and hurls them at him, but Yoshido cuts through them effortlessly. He realizes he doesn't need to rush. The more magic the creature expends, the weaker it becomes. With that in mind, he times his movements carefully, leaping high into the air while evading the next volley of energy beams. Closing in, Yoshido unleashes the final and heaviest strike of his 7 Strike Assault, pouring an immense amount of energy into the blow. Okiyomi observes from the sidelines, visibly impressed. The last enchanted strike cracks through the monster's shield and drives straight into its core. The impact is so powerful that the recoil sends Yoshido flying backward, crashing to the ground. But the effort is not wasted. The creature erupts in a violent blast, its body shattering into rubble. As Yoshido struggles to rise, Okiyomi steps in, giving him a confident thumbs up before pulling him to his feet. The two begin walking toward the other challengers, believing the battle to be over. But just as the tension seems to settle, a massive explosion tears through the ceiling of the tower. From within the smoke and debris, a colossal metal serpent bursts forth, its body flashing like steel lightning. In a single instant, it strikes, cutting Yoshido down where he stands, killing him instantly. Okiyomi can do nothing but scream out his friend's name, while the girls stand frozen in terror at what just happened. Yoshido instantly responds, only to find himself face to face with an enormous snake-like monster, the Steel Fracture. It broke straight through the tower wall, a rare and unnatural occurrence for a magic tower. Clutching his sword tightly, Yoshido watches as the Steel Fracturer lunges straight toward Okiyomi. But Okiyomi is not one to fall easily. Blocking the assault head-on, he realizes it is time to get serious. Still, a grim thought lingers. If he isn't careful, he might actually be devoured. To seize control, he unleashes his scorching flame technique, engulfing the creature in blazing fire. Yoshido quickly realizes, however, that the flames have no effect. The monster resists the heat completely. With no other choice, Okiyomi resolves to rely on sheer physical power. He charges forward, dodging the serpent's strike and leaping high into the air before delivering a massive downward slash. Yet, to his surprise, the blade leaves not even a scratch. The monster retaliates by whipping its massive clawed hooks forward, forcing Okiyomi on the defensive. The sudden reveal of such hidden power shocks even him, but before the claws can land, Yoshido leaps in like a true hero. He knocks Okiyomi aside, taking the brunt of the attack himself. The claws pierce through Yoshido's body, killing him instantly. The pain is excruciating, but his sacrifice allows him to get close enough for another chance when he revives. Respawning back, Yoshido wastes no time and drives his sword straight into the monster's eye. The strike lands and cracks ripple across its surface as the Steel Fracturer lets out a piercing scream of pain, thrashing violently and sending Yoshido flying. Okiyomi rushes in, catching him just before he hits the ground. There, Okiyomi apologizes for letting him die like that, but Yoshido shakes it off, assuring him it isn't his fault. He redirects the focus back to the real problem, defeating the monster. Meanwhile, the steel fracturer slams its massive body around in panic, one eye now destroyed. In its frenzy, it crashes against the wall of the safe zone area and is struck by an intense surge of electricity. Yoshido, witnessing the effect of the safe zone barrier for the first time, is taken aback. But the monster isn't done. It lifts its head toward the ceiling as if scheming something before suddenly diving down, smashing through the floor and burrowing deeper. Yoshido immediately grows worried, realizing it might be trying to descend to the lower floors, where weaker challengers would be completely unprepared for such a beast. But Okiyama cuts him off, pointing out the harsh truth. That is exactly what will happen if they let the monster go. According to Okiyomi, each floor has safe zones, so most monsters cannot enter them. However, those with unique traits, like the steel fracturer, are able to bypass these restrictions. He explains that such creatures are classified by the Management Bureau under a special category known as errors. Hearing that name sends a chill through Yoshido. But Okiyama adds that this information is kept secret from normal challengers, with only a few individuals in the Bureau aware of it. With that, he suggests returning to report the incident. Yoshido silently follows, but just as they prepare to leave, the girls from earlier arrive. They are shocked, staring at him in disbelief. After all, they had just watched him die. Yet now he is standing alive and well. Realizing he exposed his secret, Yoshido brushes it off, claiming it was nothing but an illusion, that he never truly died. Internally, he keeps up the lie to protect them, not wanting the trauma to break them. To his dismay, one of the girls points out the blood still on his clothes, insisting it looks far too real. But Yoshido remains firm, repeating that it was only a high-level illusion technique. Slowly, the girls begin to believe him, thanking him sincerely for saving them. Flustered, Yoshido responds with main character energy, so much so that one girl, overwhelmed, even asks for his number. Meanwhile, Okiyomi, after ensuring the area is fully evacuated, reminds Yoshido that the two of them should also leave. Yoshido agrees. Okiyomi gestures over his shoulder, hinting that it would be best not to cross paths with the steel fracturer again, especially after it disappeared in that direction. Yoshido hurries over, apologizing for keeping him waiting, but Okiyomi dismisses it with ease, saying he was ready to wait. He gives Yoshido a thumbs up, acknowledging the incredible feat he just accomplished, and insists it's only natural for him to enjoy a moment of well-earned glory. Yoshido, however, maintains that he wasn't seeking recognition. Okiyama puts on an exaggerated look of disbelief, and despite himself, Yoshido can't help but smile. The two decide it's time to return to the first floor, heading toward the glowing portal waiting in front of them. The floor beneath it is marked with intricate stone patterns clearly designed for travel. Yoshido reflects on how these portals work, realizing they connect the tower's levels and appear every 5 floors, usually inside safe zones. The thought strikes him that whenever a new floor is unlocked, a portal like this one pops into existence right away. Standing at the edge of the circle, Yoshido feels grateful for the timing. They were lucky to find a portal here. But his relief is tempered by worry. If the steel fracturer shows up on other floors, most people won't have a chance to escape. Okiyama studies him carefully, acknowledging that he's right, and adds that reinforcements will be needed, saying that they step into the portal. Their destination is the Tokyo branch, where Rito listens intently as they report everything. The atmosphere is heavy. Several victims are already confirmed on the lower levels of the tower. According to her, the Management Bureau is calling the monster the steel fracturer, but it is classified as an error and requires an immediate emergency response. The branch decides to halt their ambitious project of conquering the heavenly demon tower, Zeus. From now on, the priority is clear: eliminate the steel destroyer. For that, she presents herself to go in with the team to take down the steel fracturer. Okiyama confirms that he and Yoshio have already clashed with the monster once before and even managed to wound it, however slightly. Okiyama makes it clear that Rito has to be careful when picking the team for the steel fracturer mission. However, the lady casually brushes her hair while sparks flicker around her hand, and in an instant, a weapon forms out of thin air. Yoshido watches in disbelief as she lowers it to the floor, an ornate sword now resting in her grip. After this, they straight up goes to the 8th floor of the Heavenly Demon Tower. There are swords sticking up from the ground like markers, and it gives the place a heavy feeling. Rito is standing between the two young warriors and explaining the situation. The steel fracturer used to be on the 25th floor, but after the first fight, it started moving down, attacking the lower floors and leaving a lot of dead bodies. The reports say the shaking is still happening here, so the monster is close. Rito looks serious and says she will not let it get away again. Yoshido clenches his fists. He is thinking about the past and the times they failed. Other agents already went ahead to check things, and he wonders if they will die the same way people in Persephone did. But Rito says is different this time. She sent people who already fought this type of thing before. Okiyomi sees movement and smiles a little. He points to the people coming. Yoshido looks and sees a squad walking toward them. They are from the Tokyo branch's special unit called the Hyuka Squad. Yoshido is confused by the name, but Okiyomi hints there is more to it than just the name. The leader of the squad walks up and gives his scouting report. What he says matches what they already knew. The walls are shaking, and it is because the monster is moving inside the tower. The leader looks at Okiyomi and Yoshido and recognizes them right away as great challengers Okiyomi and Yoshido. He speaks with respect, but Yoshido does not like being treated that way. The Hyuka squad leader says that at first people thought his squad could kill the monster alone, but that was wrong. The Steel Fracturer is not a normal monster. It is a first-class threat as strong as a tower master. Still, with Okiyomi and Yoshido here, he believes they can keep the number of deaths lower. The hero looks unsettled, struggling to make sense of it all, while Okiyomi places a reassuring hand on his shoulder, radiating confidence. As long as he and his partner are here, he believes no one will die. Yoshido mutters darkly under his breath, resigned to the idea that if anyone falls, it'll be him. The Hyuka squad doesn't flinch. Their leader simply smiles, counting on the strength of his allies. In the next heartbeat, the conquerors are launched skyward, the battle pulling them forward whether they're ready or not. Yoshido turns his head left, bracing himself for what's coming. The ground rumbles, and for a moment, someone thinks it's just an earthquake. But Rito senses it immediately. The monster is right below. The floor explodes with a violent strike, sending the conquerors flying in all directions. From the rubble, the massive serpent's head bursts through with its scales glinting with steel. Hyuka squad reacts instantly, falling into formation with weapons drawn. A pair of young fighters, a boy and a girl, rush forward to engage, while the rest surround the beast. The monster retaliates with a barrage of sharp and deadly projectiles. The squad moves as one, parrying blow after blow. One of the fighters stumbles when a projectile nearly clips him, but his comrades close ranks, covering him without hesitation. Watching from the edge of the chaos, Yoshido and Okiyomi take in the scene. This is no ordinary squad. These are elite fighters trained for exactly this kind of nightmare. Against mid-level monsters, they move like wolves against flies. Still, Okiyomi knows the truth. Against a monster like the serpent, even a Hyuka squad will not last very long. The creature is just too strong. He does not wait anymore and decides they need to join the fight. Yoshido and Okiyomi grab their swords, and the blades shine as they rush forward through the smoke, heading straight for the huge monster. Okiyomi makes the first move, swinging his sword against the serpent's steel hide. Yoshido vaults over the monster, eyes glowing white, but a storm of sharp projectiles forces him back. He twists midair, barely dodging as the shots whistle past with a deadly hiss. The snake wastes no time and dives underground, vanishing into its tunnels. Okiyomi spots it trying to slip away, but before he can act, Rito casually steps forward. She launches into action with so much force that everyone else nearly loses their footing. She cuts off a monster's escape like she's saying, "Nah, not today." Okiyomi watches her, a little stunned. It's been ages since he's actually seen her fight. Her black hair whips around as white energy spreads under her feet, the sheer magic boosting her speed and strength. The blade in her grip gleams cold as frost for her signature weapon. Rito moves faster than the eye can keep up with. She slices across the serpent's neck, then drops to one knee with her sword already raised, making the giant flinch in surprise. The monster thrashes around trying to pin her down, but she's already hitting it again. And again. And again. Relentless. Each strike lands harder than the last. No breathing room. No mercy. Then, in one smooth motion, she springs high into the air, appearing above the serpent's massive head. She drops down like a hammer of judgment, blade first. Sparks explode on impact, proof that even the steel hide can't fully stand up to her fury. Rito lands softly and charges again with her sword, pointed like a spear and glowing with magic. A circle of energy bursts beneath her feet, proof that her power isn't just brute force, she's flooding her body and weapon with mana, letting Frost show its true potential. This is the real strength of Rito, the Tokyo branch head. She narrows her eyes, commanding the squad's attention. With that, she gives the order to prepare to eliminate the first-class designated entity. Yoshido casually raises his hand like he's showing off, as if to say maybe they didn't even need backup. But before anyone can make a move, the serpent's eye ignites. The steel monster lets out a hiss that rattles the cave and launches a storm of razor projectiles. The power is so intense that the ground beneath starts to cave in as the squad struggles to pin the monster down. The squad leader is frustrated that he can't even get close, and before he can process a plan, the creature slithers back into the dark cave like it owns the place. Rito knows she can't afford to lose sight of it, but she hesitates, unsure what her next move should be. She doesn't have to decide. To everyone's shock, Yoshido suddenly springs into action, chasing after the beast like it's his long-lost paycheck. He leaps through the air only to get shredded mid-flight by metal projectiles, dying instantly. Classic Yoshido. Thanks to his revival skill, he pops right back up, this time with a vitality buff, and respawns directly on top of the monster. He clamps onto its steel hide with all the determination of someone refusing to let a bus leave without him. Death? Fine, respawns. Infinite. Letting the monster go? Not happening. The only issue is that now that he's stuck to it, Yoshido realizes he has absolutely no idea what to do next. Meanwhile, the serpent zips through the cave at ridiculous speed, shaking him around. His grip eventually slips, and he slams into a wall, instantly dying again. No surprise, he respawns right back onto the monster. Bad news this time, that death is already waiting for him. The serpent mangles him with projectiles before he can even catch his breath. Respawn. Repeat. At this point, Yoshido looks less like a hero and more like respawned gum stuck to the monster's back. Deciding brute force won't work, he tries a different approach, just hanging on and hoping for the best. Not the greatest strategy, but hey, it's better than redecorating the cave walls with his body again. But then he notices where the serpent is heading, a narrow tunnel. His stomach drops. Narrow tunnels usually mean bad things. And he's right. The beast bursts out from the other side, straight into the upper floors of the magic tower, launching Yoshido through the air. He crashes down onto the floor like a dropped ragdoll. Dazed, he pushes himself up and notices the place looks different from before, just a little strange, a little off.
Guys, that's the end of the video. If you liked this video, please leave a comment in the comment section. Also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. Like the video and share it too. Thank you for watching and see you next time again.